Hey guys, how are you doing? How's it going? It's been a while since I've made a video. It's nice to be back. We were sick. We were sick for a couple of weeks, and so things have been crazy. And then I was helping a family find an apartment here, so that took up some of my time. So now I'm back. I'm going to do a tutorial on how to get your padrón in Zaragoza. Because for this family that's moving to Zaragoza from Florida, who I just helped, hey guys, this is going to be their next step, is getting the padrón. And I've seen some questions in the Facebook groups about getting a padrón in Zaragoza specifically and what the requirements are. So I'm going to show you how to utilize the website, where you can find all the information, and why Zaragoza is a good city to move to in Spain. So we're going to get to all of that right now. So this should not take very long. All right, so first thing I'm going to show you is that here on this is just a Google search page, okay? And all I did was type in Zaragoza Padrón. It's the empadronamiento. Yes, empadronamiento, okay? But you don't, that's a long word that we don't need to know how to spell. You can just write the short version of it, which is Padrón. Zaragoza Padrón, and then you come here to the first link that's there. I have automatic translation on my computer, so I'm going to put it back to Spanish. And then you're going to see right here, it says Certificados de Empadronamiento. Okay, Padrón. It even has the short word there for you. Okay, so when you put this in English, we're going to look at what the terminology says. It says registration. So what this is an ongoing census. That's essentially what it is. In the US, we collect a census door to door every decade, and some people don't even like giving that bit of information even every 10 years. This is actually something that you have to do in Spain anytime you move. When you move here, if you are an immigrant, you have to go to your town hall and do your padrón every 2 years. And almost everything that you do in Spain is going to require a copy of your padrón. So it is very difficult to avoid this. And it is a huge adjustment when you're coming here from the United States to have to go register somewhere to say where you live and who's in your house. So get that out of the way, because obviously a lot of us probably don't like that. Okay, so we're going to scroll down to the bottom of this, and you're going to see here that you can do it online, in person, or by mail. That's what it says. And then you can start the process with your digital certificate or without. Now, I know that some people have tried to do it online and it doesn't let you. You have to be there in person. It might be that you can do it online as a renewal or if you move. Okay, so let's just say when you do this for the first time, you need to go in person. So we're going to click in person, and you're going to see here that there's two main places that you can go right off the bat. There's an office in Plaza Pilar, and it says you go there from Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 1:30, and then Mondays and Thursdays and the first and last Friday of the month, you can go in the afternoon from 4 to 7. And then there's also this other location. So these are the two main locations, Via Hispanidad and Plaza Pilar. They have some notes here about the times and the schedules. Now, the thing is that I know for a fact that Plaza Pilar does not require an appointment. And I'm not sure if Hispanidad does, but there's more than just these two places. These are the two main places, but you can actually find places that are closer to your address, wherever that is. So we're going to do that. We're going to click on in the municipal boards and neighborhood boards. And before I do that, though, I'm going to show you the documentation that you need, because that's what people want to know. Can I get an Airbnb for 3 months and get a padrón? No. Can I have a short-term lease and get a padrón? Probably not. Okay, so let's look at what the requirements are, and then you're going to see why that type of stuff does not work. So right here, we're going to click on Document Proving Identity. And let's see, registration document. I'm going to, for the fun of it, let's switch to Spanish, see what things look like. Documentation Padrón. And now you always want to make sure that you have the plugin here, the translation plugin. That's how I survive here. Now, I can read most things now in Spanish, but sometimes the terminology, I don't understand it, or it makes more sense in Spanish than English, the more Spanish you learn. So it's very convenient to have the plugin on your computer. Okay, so this is what you need to prove your identity. And then there's going to be documentation that you need if you're representing someone. Like if you go to represent your family and you don't take your kids and your spouse, then you're going to need to show up with certain documentation for them that they've signed and approved for. If you're representing someone with disabilities, your children, things you have to have if you have kids, and then you scroll on down, and this is where you're proving your address, okay? So we're gonna look at those three categories. Number one, proving your identity. If you're Spanish, if you're an EU national, or a foreigner from outside of the EU. So I'm talking to people who are like me, foreigners from outside the EU. You need your NIE, which is going to be, if you're coming here on a visa that's been already approved, in your passport, on that visa sticker, you're going to find your NIE number. With that, you can register for your padrón. That's one of the things that you need. It says if you do not have it, you can use your passport. But within your passport is going to be that visa sticker. And if you don't have the visa sticker, you can still use the passport. You see, so you don't necessarily have to have a legal status. Okay, so then we're going to look at minors. What do they need? Up until the age of 14, you have to have their birth certificate or their passport if they have one. We actually take their passport and their birth certificate because you never know when you're going to need it. We've shown one birth certificate, apostille translated, and other ones we've just shown. If you show up there with the passport and the birth certificate, and the birth certificate is not translated because it's either or, you shouldn't have any problems. But if you happen to have it translated and apostille, even better. And then after 14 years old, they have to have their DNI, which is the number you get if you're a citizen, or their NIE, which is the foreigner number, or their passport. So once again, the fact that you can do this with only a passport and without an NIE means that you're not necessarily required to have a legal status. Okay, so the documentation, it must be valid. It cannot be expired unless a renewal application is submitted. And when you submit a renewal here in Spain, you will get a receipt for that, justificación. So you want to take that with you if that's your situation. Like if you're renewing your card, your residency card, and you don't have a current one yet because it's already expired and you haven't picked up the new one because it's not available yet, then you will have a document that shows that it's not available yet, but you've been approved already, and that's what you would take with you. Okay, so now in case you're going to represent other adults who are living in the home with you, you have to have your ID and probably a copy, and then their ID and a copy. And then you're going to have a document, and it's right here, the form 004, and it has to be signed by them and you. And so it becomes a little bit more complicated, but you have to also do a form in the same way for kids, but it's a different form. Okay, so then we're gonna skip down to representation of minors. If the kids are living with both parents, so you have a family unit in the home, this is going to be the paper that has to be signed by both of you and submitted for both kids, one per child. So for us, we had to fill this out for both of our kids. We had to show up there with two of them, okay? And then if there's only one parent in the house, then you have all these different situations. Who do they live with? Who has the court order? Who has the court order for judicial authorization? Okay, both parents are involved in whichever situation that this is. So if any of this applies to you, you can look through it. But most likely, if you're coming here from the United States or some other country, and you're coming here as a family, it's hard to come here without both parents because there has to be approval for that kid to leave the country. So most people who are going to watch this are going to be coming with complete, rights over their kid or with both parents. So skipping on down, these are all these different situations like court rulings, no court rulings, all these different things. So I'm not going to go through all of that. So now the documentation proving the address. Here's the different situations. Letter A, if no one is registered in the house, you have to do this one thing. If someone is already registered in the house and lives there, so then you're also going to be living there, then you have to do this other thing. And then you have, if you're going to a collective establishment, which is like maybe a homeless center or a boarding type of place, a group home, so that's not going to apply in these circumstances that I'm making this video for. So basically, here we go. If no one is registered in the house, so this is what happens when you rent a home and you need to go get a padrón. Nobody else is living there. You're the only one on the lease along with your family. Okay, so you're going to have to, let's say you've bought the house, then this is what you do. You have to have like the deed and all these different things. And they also want your supply contracts for water, electricity, it says that those are not considered proof of ownership, okay? You have to actually have the deed in your name. So now, secondly, you can bring in, remember it says one of the following, okay? So it's going to depend on your circumstances. You're going to bring in a valid rental agreement for a home to be used as a primary residence. I am going to switch this to Spanish now, and I'm going to show you that it says vivienda. That is the key word right there. A lease for vivienda is going to be for 12 months or more, and an Airbnb is not going to qualify you for that, nor is a short-term rental. Okay, so that's what's good about having the translator, because if you just look at this, you're like, okay, well, a home as a primary residence. Well, I'm going to use it as my primary residence for 3 months. No, there's legal terminology, and the legal terminology in Spanish is vivienda, and that legal terminology means 12-month lease. They're auto-renewable for up to 5 years, and they come with renter's rights that you don't get with a short-term lease, and that's why it matters. Okay, so you have to have your rental agreement, por vivienda, and it will say that at the very beginning of the lease that this lease is por vivienda. Okay, now you also need to have along with one of the last 3 months rental receipts and proof of payment, and a copy of each. If paid rent receipt is not available, then you can show your electricity, water, gas, or landline telephone bills for the last 3 months. This receipt must also be paid. It has to show that it's paid, and with a copy. What we did was we showed up with our rental agreement, and we showed up with our internet, which is not on the list. But it seems that here you can do that. We showed up with our internet bill and in our name, which, you get that established right away when you get here. But also when you're moving here, the owner of the property or the agent will do some things to immediately be putting the gas, water, and electricity in your name. Sometimes they don't do that, and they want to have it coming to themselves, and then they want to bill you for it. But in that situation, you're going to need the internet bill. But really, in order for the transparency of things, you should not be being told by the owner how much you owe for your power bill. You should be seeing the bill. So if it is staying in their name, they should be sending you a copy of it so that you can see it for yourself, or you insist that it be put into your name. So nothing here is uniform, so your situation may vary. You may have a situation where, like, the electricity and the water is in your name, but the gas is in their name, and it's too difficult for them to switch it for whatever reason. They will have some kind of reason for themselves that they don't want to do it. And just make sure that you're actually seeing what they're saying that you owe. So anyways, we take the lease, we take the internet bill, or some other utility, okay? And then now it's talking about if you're renting a room, what you have to have, and and then it says original authorization from the owner of the property, along with a copy of their identification document and the title deed. What we provide is we usually take the lease, one utility, and we ask the owner for a copy of their DNI, and we take that with us. And then it tells you, by the way, if you don't have any of this stuff, then you need these other things. You have to have a different set of stuff. So you go on here and you look and see which one of these situations are yours, and you do that. Now, skipping on down to, like, this is if someone is already registered in the house. So then there's another form you have to fill out and more things that you have to prove, but it is a possibility to do. That is not going to be, in a situation with an Airbnb, because this is someone that if they're registered in that house, then they're living there. Okay. So someone who's getting Airbnb is not living there. What else? Okay, so that's going to be it for this. So now lease, utility, a special paper for each child signed by both parents, and copies of everything, your passport, your TIE card, which you probably won't have yet. So your passport with a copy of your visa in it, if you have that. If you don't, it's okay. Like if you come here for the DNV and you don't have your stuff done yet, you are possibly able to find a rental, which I think is really difficult without having having the visa in your passport shows that you're going to stay here. You've been approved to be here. Coming here and looking for a rental without that, just on the DNV, if you're coming in and you want to, get the 3-year approval, which is a benefit to you, but it's going to be difficult to prove, that you want to stay here for a while and get somebody who will rent to you without some extortionate amount of money. So probably you're going to be in an Airbnb until you get an approval. And so it's a good thing is that the approvals, they take like 3 to 6 weeks or something like that now. So, it's an expense to have an Airbnb, but it's part of it. Okay. So now on this main page, am I on the main page? No, let's go back. We're going to go back. So now this is the main page where I started, the certificates of registration. So I'm going to show you where some of these other locations are. We click on in person and go down here where it says neighborhood boards and municipal boards. So far I've said, because I know already that this one is walk-in, even though it doesn't say it on here. I know that it is, but let's look and see if there's one closer to your neighborhood that's walk-in that will be easier for you to get to. So you just click on these links and a map is going to come up and it's going to tell you where this is. So you can see where you're living and what's near you. Hopefully you have a basic idea of where you're living. So, once you get an apartment, you got to learn the city and the map and everything. So let's go like over here. This is near El Gancho, Bermas. Okay. So here is the name of this one. And this is probably going to be Casco Histórico. Yes, Casco Histórico. The historical helmet. Literally, that's what it means. Okay. Okay, so over here, you scroll down. And let's see, can I make this bigger for you? And you can see appointment. Okay, appointment from 8:30 to 9:30, and without an appointment from 9:30 to 1:30. So this is one of the things that makes Zaragoza amazing. When you move here on your visa and you get to like Madrid and you look on the website to get an appointment, and they're only going to say you have to go to this area because that's where you're at, or this is the only place over here that has any appointments available for a month from now. None of the places around you are going to have appointments. You go to the town hall website, you try to make an appointment, they say no appointments are available. You wait 1, 2, 3 months, still no appointments are available, and you're freaking out, posting on Facebook, I can't get an appointment. What do I do? 30 days, yada yada. So you move to a city where things are accessible, like Zaragoza. Okay, so you come here the very next day after you recover from your jet lag. You take your documentation, which hopefully you've already got some of it done. You could pre-do that and put it in a little packet before you get here if you are prepared. Like the family that I have been helping, they already are going to have their lease. They can already have their DNI from their owner. They could possibly have a utility put in their name already. They already can fill out this form in advance, get all their documentation and have it in a little folder. And then when they're super tired after they get here, they can grab that folder and they can go to the town hall that's near them, or the municipal board that's near them, or the neighborhood center. They can walk in there if they happen to need to go to this one from 9:30 to 1:30 without an appointment and get it done. Okay. And you walk out with your padrón in your hand, 3 copies. And if you want more, you can ask them for more. But typically 3 copies is enough, because when you register your kids for school, you're going to need one. When you want to go to get your TIE, you're going to need one. And then you have another one for extra. So, but they'll give you another one if you ask for more. And the great thing is that here, because everything is so close together, if you get there and you're missing a document, you just say, oh, I got to go home and get it. Or can I email it to you or something, and they're very flexible, and they will say, yeah, sure. Just go get it and then come back. It's not like you've lost your time and you have to now make an appointment for a month from now. In Madrid, you finally get your appointment after 3 months of living there, and you go in there and you do all your stuff, all your paperwork, and they say, you don't have one of your documents. Well, guess what? Now you have to go home and get it and make another appointment and then maybe you have to redo some of your documents, because maybe they've expired, right? So, and then you finally get your stuff done at your appointment, and they say, okay, well, come back in a month to pick it up, or we'll email it to you in a month, or in 1 month it'll be available online, or whatever. Now you're at like 4 or 5 months before you even have that in your hand, can't go and get your fingerprints done for your TIE card, and everything is postponed because of this. And this is what happens in the big cities where a lot of foreigners go to. They're completely overwhelmed. That's my spiel again about why Zaragoza is a good city to live in. You get the paperwork stuff done faster. You get the Spanish culture that you moved to Spain for. You need to know the language here. It's not that no one knows English, because many people have a level of English here, but you need to know Spanish here to live well. Most people are not going to have a very high level of Spanish. Like if you go to the grocery store, the cashier there, they might know some basics, but you're going to be basically communicating with hand signals for like the first 6 months to a year, doing, charades. But that's just part of life. But it's also going to push you into learning more Spanish, because you're going to realize that you need it. And needing it is the immersive value that comes from this type of city. And people are friendly and welcoming. And as long as you're trying to speak in Spanish and they see that you're putting forth the effort, they love that. And this city, I don't care like what's going on in every other city in Spain. People here are kind, friendly, and welcoming. Okay. I promise you that. Let's pick another one. Here is another one. This is going to be an actor. See how it says, this is weird, right? It says see equipment. And you're like, what equipment? Okay. That's just because the Google Translator is weird and it doesn't do things right. Okay. Really, I think what it means is the team. Look at the team in Spanish. Or look at the group or whatever. Your equipo is your team when you play a sport. Okay, so here we go again. And this is an actor, which is, a little nice, fancy little area. So they, again, have a schedule. That's their schedule, horario, okay, right here, horario. And it says that you need an appointment from 8:30 to 9:30. That's what cita previa means. So I switch to English, appointment, see, from 8:30 to 9:30, but you can also go from 9:30 to 1:30 according to their schedule and walk in. And then in July and August, they have different hours. Thank goodness they are open in August, Monday to Friday, 9 to 1. This is when you do it. You have to do it in the morning, and you have to make time to do it in the morning. Okay, so moving on. Let's go back to the in-person again and the neighborhood boards. These are more spread out, you will see. So I'm going to go to one. Let's just go to the first one. Again with that. Okay. This is like, I don't know, out in the middle of nowhere. Where is this anyways? Oh, it's not too far out in the middle of nowhere, but on the other side of the river. And yeah, it's out in the middle of nowhere, but this is the city here. So, and I'm right here in the center of Zaragoza. That's what that target is, the center of Zaragoza. And then you have this is far out, okay? All right, so anyway, even if you're far out, let's see what they say. Over here on the right, appointment available, again, from 8:30 to 9:30. Walk-ins available 9:30 to 1:30. And if you want, you can make an appointment, but you don't have to. And that's the great thing about it, okay? So once again, easy, easy, easy. Okay, so this is a tutorial to show you how to get a padrón in Zaragoza and why it's easy because of the walk-ins. You walk out with your padrón. It will be stamped and signed and everything else that they like here. So if there's something else that you want me to show you how to do here, let me know and I can make a little tutorial video on it. I can also help you do this in person, okay? But I really want to enable you to do it, not do it for you, because knowing how to do it and going through the process is part of the adaptation and part of learning how the systems work and dealing with the things that are going to come up. And it's part of adapting. Okay. So, and part of being immersed and using your translator and figuring out how to say things. And by the way, alta, if you want to register for your padrón in person, it's called alta. Quiero alta mi padrón. Okay. Or alta padrón, be robotic, alta padrón, they'll figure out what you want. If you want to unregister, then you baja. So tall and short are adjectives in Spanish, but for alta and baja, but they're also verbs. register and unregister. And you will come across those words in many things that you do here, whether it's registering your kids for school, sports, or registering your padrón. You want to alta your padrón. Okay, so that's going to be it. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, and using the videos and watching them. And I appreciate your time. And like I said, comment, let me know if this helped you or if you want a different type of tutorial on something else that you need to get done in Zaragoza after your move. And if you have any questions about living in Zaragoza, I'm here for that too. All right, have a good day. Bye.